G'day everyone, we're back with a brand new season of Big Brother. We've got the BB23 cast announced just a few days ago. I've taken a little bit of time to go over the bios from each individual contestant on the upcoming season and going to do something a bit different this time. Last time I did this, I just ranked the players on how I have my personal opinion of them. This time we're doing a tier ranking based on who I think will win the season and the likelihood that they win the season. So let's get into the tier list and not waste any more time. So we're going to go through the cast in no particular order. I was going to give some general thoughts on how I feel about them as a character on the show, then how they're going to win. Once I've gone through all 16, I'm going to choose from the people that do have a good chance and then put one as my definitive winner pick that I'm going to put my flag in as the winner of this season. So first up, we've got Christian. I thought Christian just came across really boring in his bio. He didn't have that much of interest or that much life experience. I think it might be because he's a bit younger, only 23, so probably not going to be the most interesting character on the show. I don't think he's completely drawing dead to win. I think he might fluke a win if he just gets in the right alliance and sort of just does what they say and uses some of the more athletic and socially outgoing people as a bit of a meat shield, but definitely not one of my winner picks to win, but he might fluke a win. We'll see. Next up, we've got Claire. Claire was one of the more interesting people on this cast, for sure. I really like that she came up in university doing AI and engineering in like a really male-dominated field, but she's kicked ass in it anyway and sort of is used to dealing with, the guys. I think that's just like impressive overall in general as a person. In terms of how it'll play out in the game, I definitely think she'll probably be the smartest person on this cast, for sure. I do worry that maybe she isn't the most socially graceful. She definitely did come across like she had a chip on her shoulder. Because Big Brother is so much about just like being a people pleaser and just doing whatever you can to get people to like you, to win a jury vote. If she's a bit standoffish with some of the other people in the game, they could definitely come back to bite her on the arse, and I think that might affect her. But I do think she is one of the smartest. She talked about making puzzles, which probably means she'll be at least competent in some of these challenges, so I do think she's in with a good shot if she is nice to people. The other thing I noticed is that she said her favourite duo of all time is Danielle and Jason, which hell yeah, I agree 100%, that's my favourite duo. And then she said her favourite moment watching the game ever was watching Vanessa Russo kick ass in Big Brother 17. Vanessa Russo is my favourite player of all time, by far, and I loved watching her kick ass in Big Brother 17. So super excited to see Claire play, because if she's only half as cool as Vanessa was, we've got an interesting game on our hands this season. So good chance tier for her, for sure. Next up, we've got Alyssa, and I actually really liked Alyssa. I think it's pretty obvious with some of her modelling background and living in Hollywood that she is trying to, build a Instagram influencer type career off the back of Big Brother, which if you asked me 10 years ago, I really would have disliked. But honestly, in this day and age, seeing people who get voted off second, like Swaggy C, just make careers and are posting stuff on Instagram, I actually think that's kind of a smart thing to do, to be honest, if you can get away with it. And Alyssa's definitely good looking enough to get away with it, so I don't really mind that as much anymore. From some of the things she said, it seemed like she was clearly a fan and she was playing the game to win, so I liked that too. So I definitely think she could be one of the strong contenders to win the game if she plays it smart, and she's good in the challenges, so good chance tier for her. Next up, we have Azar. I actually have like pretty similar things to say about her as I did with Alyssa. Clearly a fan. The thing that makes me like her chances less than I did with Alyssa's is some of the things she said in her bio were like, I'm going to fight back against the big alliance and try and play for the underdog. And it's like, no, that's not how you play the game. You try and get in the big alliance, so you're not ousted straight away. So that did concern me a bit, so I've got to put her a tier below Alyssa at least, but still did like some of the things, so I don't think she's totally drawing dead on a win. Next up is Brent, and I did like that he was a former collegiate athlete. I think you definitely want to be an athlete in this modern day of Big Brother when the competitions are super physical and they're super important to if you win the game or not. So just off the fact that he might be a threat in these challenges, I'm not going to discount his chances from winning it all. I do think he's in there with at least somewhat of a good chance, in my opinion. Can't be too out on him yet. Next up, we've got Brittany, I think is how you pronounce it. And yeah, she talked a lot in her bio about nothing interesting at all. I really get the sense that she's just a person who loves to talk. And I feel like the fans won't like her if she's like that on the live feeds. And the other housemates probably won't either. So sorry, Brittany, I don't think you're in with a decent chance, to be honest. What's this guy's name? Next up, I've got the first Derek F, who is Smoking Joe Fraser's son, which is pretty cool. Smoking Joe Fraser, like one of the best boxers of all time, so pretty cool to see his son on the cast. bit concerned about him. He did say he was very, very strong. I think he's into powerlifting, and it does concern me if he doesn't have great cardio and he isn't very athletic, like a lot of the powerlifters I know. He will struggle in some of these challenges that do require you to be pretty agile and have pretty good endurance and cardio. Didn't really get a sense of what he's like socially. The fact that he does have a super famous father might help him in the game, you know, if he has connections and he can try and hook people up inside the games. Don't want to count him out totally, but I just don't think he's going to be very good in competitions, in all honesty. So I'm going to put him in he might fluke a win. He might fluke a win. I might be totally wrong and he is super athletic, but really don't get the sense if he's like all the other powerlifters I know. So next up, we've got the other David X, and it's no chance for David. I'm sorry, but he comes across as like so young. I think he's like 22, 23. Okay, he's 24 years old, which is still pretty young, of course, but I think he acts a lot younger. He seems kind of like an 18-year-old. He's sort of like very self-effacing in his bio, but not in like a funny, self-deprecating kind of way. And it just makes me think that he lacks confidence, and I think that's going to come across in the game, in people just like don't want to include him in the in-group, unfortunately. So I really don't see him winning the game at all, unfortunately. Next up, we have Frenchie, who clearly a fan, making fun of Brittany and Rachel and that. He is one of the older house guests though, and I do think he might struggle to fit in with the younger people, get in that inner alliance. So unfortunately, even though he did make me laugh, I don't think he's going to win this one, bro. No chance. And we got Hannah, who, I criticised David's chances because he just seemed really young. Hannah kind of seems even younger. She is even younger. She's 21, the youngest person on the cast. And I think she might have more of a chance than David, just because if she can sort of play that younger sister role in the bigger alliance, sort of just like coast by whilst, you know, all the bigger people in the alliance get taken out if there is a flip, I think maybe she might fluke a win in that instance. But even if she does, it's going to be hard for someone this young to win a jury vote. So I know Josh Martinez won a jury vote, but that was like a very, very specific instance. So it's really close to fluke a win and no chance for me, but yeah, she might fluke a win, you know? Like, Josh Martinez won because he was, like, so bad with jury management and so likely to lose a jury vote that it, like, flipped around and he actually ended up winning a jury vote against Paul, who was, like, the worst jury vote person ever. So, yeah, maybe Hannah, same thing. Maybe she'll fluke a win like Josh did. We'll see. Next up, I have Kaylin, and I said Brittany talked a lot in her bio. Kaylin talked even more, but the difference between the two is when Brittany talked, she said like nothing interesting at all. Kaylin did have like some funny anecdotes which sort of made me chuckle and like him, like how he talked, he read Twilight to try and impress some girls, and he likes Twilight. But that's kind of funny, you know, he pretends to be a cop to cut in lines. It's kind of funny. So at least when he said something, it had some type of like, it was kind of interesting and amusing at the very least. So I don't think he will be quite as annoying as Brittany came across. I do think I'm not going to hold that against him. I liked all the things he said, including how he wants to go in there and play the game. He's not worried about being a social media influencer or whatever. I like that cutthroat stuff, and I think he's got a really good chance to do well. So I'm putting them up as a good chance. Next we have Sarah, and I wasn't a big fan of Sarah. She reminded me of Big Meech a lot, to be honest. Just sort of like, kind of like David, just very self-facing, and I wasn't really sure why, because she is a bit more accomplished. She has a job as a forensic chemist. You know, I'm going to assume she's at least somewhat book smart to land that gig. Not going to count her totally out like I did David, because she might be smart, she might fluke a win, but definitely not one of the favourites. I think she might struggle to fit in with the cooler kids, who are usually the big conglomerate alliance at the start of the game. So she might fluke it. We'll see. Next up, we've got Tiffany. I really like Tiffany, actually, but she is the eldest on the cast. I'll eat my shoe the day the oldest person on the cast wins a game. It's just so hard to fit in and then try and be a comp beast against all the younger people. And, you know, if anyone's able to do both, like maybe it's her, but I just don't think it's ever going to happen. So no chance. Sorry. Next up, we have Travis, and I think Travis is probably the person I'm most looking forward to watching on this cast. I could see him being like a super just entertaining character who like tries and runs the game and then it all blows up in his face. I could also see him just actually like genuinely running the game, because he does give me a bit of a dodgy used car salesman vibe, which was the same thing Jackson Mickey gave me, where he was just like basically a scumbag backstabbing people the entire game. If Kyle's like that, he might not be the most likable character, but he definitely will be somewhat entertaining and driving the strategy of the game, driving control of the game for himself, and then I think it'll be funny to watch it all blow up in his face. So really looking forward to watching Travis play. I think he'll be a very entertaining character. In terms of his chances to win, I really do think it's much more likely that it does blow up in his face, or the jury just doesn't want to vote for him if he does end up being a big snake. By the way, the only reason I'm saying I think he's a snake is because he talks about he's been sued by like some of the biggest companies in the world for what I'm assuming is just stealing their ideas and trying to pass them off as himself. It just does scream very used car salesman vibe to me. Yeah, I think if he's not thinking these schemes through and he's still going through with them anyway, he might just be a really aggressive player. But it could work out for him if he is actually very confident and can, has learnt from his mistakes and is sort of able to scheme and scam better now. It might work out for him. So I think there's some chance he'll win. I'm going to put him as a wild card player. Next up we have Whitney. I know she is younger than Tiffany, but she is because she is a mum with 2 boys, I think she might struggle to fit in with the younger crowd, and she didn't really talk about being, athletic or anything like that, and you really do need to be a comp beast to win Big Brother, in my opinion. So, sorry Whitney, I don't think you've got a shot. Last up, we have Xavier. Xavier is an attorney, as I'm sure everyone watching this already knows anyway, and he seems like one of those attorneys who's like, nah, I'm not like a corporate stooge. I'm one of the fun attorneys. I like going hiking. Does seem like that a bit to me, which I don't think means he'll be bad at the game by any means. I just think it is probably going to be a bit more of a boring TV character, in all honesty, but I do think he could do well. He must have some level of book intelligence to be an attorney, and he does seem like a fan of the game. I think he was the one that referenced Danielle Reyes. I think Claire did as well, actually, which is kind of cool. So he definitely must be somewhat of a fan of the game. So maybe if he is book smart, he can translate that to, at least strategy smarts in terms of making good decisions in the game. He does have a chance to win. So I think he'll be boring, but I'm going to put him in as a good chance to win anyway. So there you go. Those are the winner rankings overall in terms of how I think people are going to do. But we've got one last thing to do, and that's to pick my winner pick for the season. And honestly, this season, I think there is an absolute standout who I'm over the moon to get in as my winner pick for how I think they're going to do in the game. And it's Kalen this season. I think Kalen has got this season on lock based off of his personality, how it came through in the bio. I think he came across as very personable. He's a good-looking guy, so I think that'll just aid to his personability. I think people will like him. I think people will want to work with him. If it ends up being an all-bros alliance that runs this season, I think he's going to be in that alliance for sure. I think if it's more of a mixed-gender alliance that happens, I think the women are going to like him. He talks about, the thing with Twilight he did to try and impress women, and he's grown up with, actually that's probably more important, is that he grew up with sisters, so he's good with women and he'll fit in with the bros as well. I just think there's so many ways the big alliance could form, and he's going to be part of it, and that's a huge advantage. But he's not like a super threatening type of person, whereas someone like, Claire, whose personality might rub people the wrong way, I think there's a risk that she just gets targeted for being that, too aggressive in the game. I think Xavier might rub the people the wrong way too, not because he's, so aggressive, but more because he's just like a boring dad type of character. I think Kalen's more personable, and if he ends up in the big alliance, it's going to be hard for him to lose. So here's my winner pick this season. Hop down in the comments below, let me know who you think your winner pick is. Let's go Kalen. Really more excited to... Even though Kalen is my winner pick, I really do think Claire and Travis are probably going to be more interesting TV characters, so more interested in seeing them play, but I really do think Kalen's going to take home the W. That's going to wrap it up for this video. I'm going to leave the link for the tier list and the template in my description below. Put out your tier list and then take a screenshot, then follow me over on Instagram @LeeBets, and then send me your screenshot. Curious to see who you guys think is going to win the game this season. Think it'll be interesting to compare to my tier list. Also, if by chance you happen to be into poker, I'm a professional poker player, which explains my fandom of Vanessa Russo, and I do videos about poker over on the YouTube channel LeeBets, so go follow me over there if you're interested in poker at all. That's going to wrap up this video for today. Not sure if I'm going to do coverage or not this season of Big Brother. Suppose it depends if I do end up having the time. We'll see how that goes, but for now, I'm out of here. Peace.